What's up, Shelf Addicts? Welcome back to the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Today on Book Chat, we are finishing our final series of 2022, the second book in the Monsters of Verity duology, Our Dark Duet, written by Victoria Schwab. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I am your host, Tamara, and welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, we're going to feed your shelf addiction with fun book conversations, bookish topics, and more. It's like listening in on your favorite book club. Participate in this discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official or over on the Book Clubs app. I hope to hear your thoughts on today's show. You can also find me and Casey on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support the podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe before you leave. That will really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing it. The uncut video version of this podcast is available right now over on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including after shows and more. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come over onto Patreon and sign up. As always with Book Chats, we talk spoilers here, so you've been warned. Without further ado, let's begin. Joining me is fantasy series co-host Casey from Heartful of Ink. Welcome back, Casey.
Hello, hello. I'm happy and excited to be here.
Yes, I'm happy you're here as always. So we're going to go ahead and give our stats and the synopsis, and then we'll jump right on in as we do. So today we are discussing the second and final book in the Monsters of Verity duology. It's called Our Dark Duet. It was published June 13th, 2017 by Green Willow Books and Harper Audio. The audiobook is narrated by Therese Plummer, and the hardcover comes in at 512 pages, and the unabridged audio is 10 hours and 33 minutes. Casey, would you please share the synopsis? It is long.
Yes. Kate Harker isn't afraid of monsters. She hunts them, and she's good at it. August Flynn once yearned to be human, but no longer. He has a part to play, and he will play it no matter the cost. The war has begun. The monsters are winning. Kate will have to return to Verity. August will have to let her back in. And a new monster is waiting. One that feeds on chaos and brings out its victims' inner demons. Which will be harder to conquer, the monsters they face or the monsters within?
All right. So, as we do, high level.
High level. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this is going to sound really mean, and I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Also.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm not trying to intentionally be cruel when I say this, but I feel like if I look at this book at just the surface level, just the superficial surface level, and I turn off my brain and I don't question anything and I take everything at face value, then it's a decent book.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm me and I like to question things and I keep questioning things and I keep poking, it all unravels and like nothing makes sense. And I'm left holding a pile of pages and I'm confused and don't know what just happened.
You are the queen of plot holes. And I think because of you, I've become really in tune with plotting, and I too notice things. And unlike you, I was unable to separate the two versions of this book, and I just didn't really think it was good. I thought the end was good. I give her like lots.
The end surprised me. It was a good ending, and I liked it.
I give her lots of credit for going against the grain of typical YA, so she gets points on that. But let's. I feel like I'm going to have a laundry list of problems. First and foremost, if you guys remember in the last episode, I said it took a lot for that story to get going, and I wanted this story to start immediately. And I don't feel like I got that. It was another 40% before I was even interested in what was happening. What about you?
Yes, but the very first line, well, you said you want this book to hit the ground running. And the very first line of this book is Kate hit the ground running.
What a fiasco.
And I stopped and I laughed at that.
What a fiasco.
I was like, oh my God.
Like, literally, I guess, but not really.
Yeah, no. It just like that was the first line, and I had to stop and laugh and appreciate that moment. But you're right, it did drag. It did take forever to get to the meat of the story.
Right.
Even though there was no high school in this, it was still just, oh my God.
I think my main problem was that about 45% is when Kate comes back to Verity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is when things got interesting to me because no shade, this is a duology. I don't give a shit about all these new characters. There's a lot of, I don't care about them. And we never see them again after she leaves. So why did we spend 40% of the book on that? No.
The other thing is she doesn't explain her world building. And this is where I have to like literally turn my brain off because it does not make sense. And I'm sitting here going, make it make sense. Why does Prosperity not really have any monsters? Or they're so removed from monsters that they don't know how to hunt them or fight them, and the police are hiding them because monsters aren't real here, but monsters are real in Verity. And why is that?
Why is that?
Why was everybody so worried about monsters before in book one? You know, the waste is all this empty open space where monsters could be, but somehow Prosperity is monster free? How? Why? What is this?
Seems weird. Doesn't make sense.
Like there are violent people everywhere. People will be, you know, killing each other. If they're making the monsters with their own violence, why aren't there more monsters?
I don't know. But then suddenly this chaos eating monster shows up there.
Chaos eater?
Yeah. He shows up there and then she follows it back to Verity. So why?
How?
Right.
I wanted an explanation, and I don't want the author to come in and be like, okay, so here's this new monster and here's exactly where it came from. And here, you know, like you don't want to be told everything, but none of the characters even questioned it. They didn't have any theories. And like, that's half the fun is kind of going through all the potential theories with the characters and going, what could it be? What is right? But nobody questioned it. And I kept waiting for
valid
that
theory in our last episode.
Yes. And I wanted that to be true. And when he kind of like became real at the end, I was hoping and hoping and hoping that it would like look like Leo and we would have this grand explanation and everything would fall into place. But no, it never came to be. And so again, I don't understand why this new monster was created over in Prosperity where there are no monsters versus Verity where there's all these monsters, or where Alice was created at that house. And like, again, if I turn my brain off and I don't ask questions and just accept it, like, okay, yes, there's a new monster. Sure, let's follow it around.
But it doesn't make sense. And I can't turn my brain off. And that's my problem.
It's hard to turn a brain off, and usually I can't. And I'm trying really hard with this book to turn it off.
Okay, well, you can play that role, and I'll be negative Nancy because it just made no sense at all. And I knew there was going to be another monster because you have to have something else to fight, and there has to be another conflict. But man, she did that really oddly. I didn't like that at all. And I do think even Kate spending, again, I have a problem with the introduction of a lot of characters in the second book that is also the end. Even Kate spending time a day in training, talking to people, trying, you know, it just felt like, why are we wasting time on this? Even the character said, why am I doing this?
I liked the training more than the Prosperity people, just because, you know, it gave us that hint of humanity. And these are the people who are ripping themselves to shreds at the end. Like, you kind of had a little bit of face there at the end. I would have much rather spent more time here with these people than Prosperity. Like, cut out that 40% in Prosperity. That's bullshit. We don't need that. I want to see these people who are fighting, these people who are going to be turned against each other, these people who are dying because of all these monsters. Like, I was more leaning towards that, but I agree with you with the prosperity
Because
people.
of that, though, I don't feel like I really even cared. I mean, not like I'm heartless, but because I feel like I didn't get to know them enough, it's like she spent this time with them, but I didn't know them enough for me to be like, oh, dang, you know.
I know. Colin was really the only one, but he lived. But everybody else, you just kind of like had those tiny bits and pieces. There was the one girl, Rez. Her death was pretty sad, but her death was really early on, like before Kate left Prosperity.
Yeah.
And I would have much rather spent time learning these people and learning about the FTF and these warriors than Prosperity.
Because, like, if I could just rewrite, right? Now, I don't want to be mean by doing that, but if I could do that, I would have Kate in Prosperity and she just run into the monster the second day she's there. I have not 6 months later.
Yeah.
Like, she got there.
That was the other thing was,
right away. She knows something, she meets this monster and she starts having like these visions and stuff and she leaves like right away. And then that whole 6 months, the author could have spent that whole 6 month gap with her trying to get in good with, August and all his people to fight this ultimate fight. And then along the way, we get to know all these other soldiers that work there. That would have been better, I feel like.
Yes. I think so too. I think that would have been much better. It would have humanized these thousands of people in the FTF who are here to fight the monsters but get turned on each other.
So the time we spent with Alice and what's his damn name? Sloane. I still don't quite understand. And I feel like we got a little bit of an explanation toward the end, like why she chose the name Alice, just a little. But I feel like this whole time I wanted to know why she looked like her. And, like, did the other monsters look like the people, or is this an exception to the rule?
I have no fucking clue. And again, that's one of those things. If you just take it at surface level and just accept it as is, it's fine and dandy. But if you question it, everything falls apart. Because yes, why does Alice look like Kate? I don't know. Sloane kind of looks like her dad, but doesn't look like her dad. And she mentioned that he was and he wasn't her dad. So I don't know. Every other Malachi is described as kind of like a zombie-like creature. In book 1, they were described as having a hive mind. So why are Alice and Sloane so smart? Is it because of the Harker bloodline? Is it because something else? Is it... I don't know. There is no explanation given, and nobody ever theorizes about it. And like, even if the author knows why in her head, nobody questions it in the book. Nobody goes, nobody questions it.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. That's where I'm like, I have to turn my brain off. I have to, shove a rag in my mouth so I don't question it. Because I'm like, but why? Why is Alice so smart? Why is Alice so keen on killing Kate? Like,
right, like, why?
Why? Every other Malachi is like a mindless zombie that just wants to eat. Why are you, like, thinking and planning
like, is she
and murdering?
Jealous? Like, the only thing I could think is, like, are you jealous that Sloane is using all his brain power to get people that look like her? And... he's obsessed with her, but you're not. I mean, I don't, because she had this whole thing with calling him father, and this, I just didn't grasp.
It was like the two evil parts of the Harkers were like coming together, but also fighting. And there was no reason given. There was no explanation, and it couldn't even be because they were evil people, because Kate still had all the evil inside her that was being awoken by this new monster, and she was still super violent. So it wasn't like the violence left her.
Right.
But also, here was another question I had.
Mm-hmm.
Kate murders again in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Kate is welcomed into a house by a strange man, and then he immediately tries to throw her out the front door so the shadow monsters can eat her.
Mm-hmm. But
she ends up throwing him outside and locking the door behind him, and he gets just completely demolished and eaten. And that's murder, right? Would you consider that murder?
I think if we're going with intent, yeah. Even though she didn't physically murder him.
She didn't physically kill him,
but she caused his murder. She caused it. And
I feel like that would have stained her soul even more. Mm-hmm. But more than that, why didn't that create a Malachi? Why was there not Alice 2.0 popping out and running around?
Why not? Yes.
Why not? She didn't pull the trigger, but she locked the door. She threw him out. See,
I think in this... See, there's a lot of murkiness going on with that whole thing, because even later, when the one woman was outraged that her husband was killed and she attacked, August, she was trying to murder him. She was trying.
She shot him 6 times in the chest, but because he can't die, he didn't die, even though he had 6 bullets in his chest.
So it's not about intent then. It's about if you physically, literally murder somebody. Mm-hmm. So in her case, she got a pass because, hey, I'm not dead. So there we go.
And in this case, Kate got a pass
because she didn't literally do it.
Literally kill him. Except she literally pushed him out the door into the waiting arms of the monsters and locked the door behind him.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, right? I understand the clarity of why it's her fault. But if we're going with what the author is trying to do, it's let's say you're arguing with someone on the street. You shove each other, you shove them, they fall in the street and they get run over by a bus. The bus driver is the one that killed them. Literally.
Yes, literally.
But you were the
do
cause.
The police arrest?
They're gonna arrest the damn bus driver, bet you.
I mean, this is America, so there are a lot of factors there.
For the sake of simplicity, because the author isn't getting that in depth with anything, I think it's as simple as that. Did you actually,
Yes and no.
Just because she's not going there, she's not getting philosophical. We're not talking about when she killed the one woman with the daughter. When August consumed her soul when she was in line trying to get in there. You don't know what that guy did to her that made her run him over. So there's no there's no nuance, right, at all. It's did you kill or not?
And that's kind of what August was starting to feel, and then refused to let himself feel, and so I wanted to get more into that nuance, especially with Kate, who keeps killing and doing these things, and he just lets her have a pass. And I don't know. Again, just taking it at surface level. Don't question it. It's fine. It's fine. But if you question it, I'm sitting here questioning it.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not. And I'm running around in circles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. You know what? We can do this for an hour. So we're going to take a break now.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we're going to try to talk about some more things that could have been worked on or things that we didn't like. And maybe we can scrounge up a couple of things we did like. If you're curious about that, stay tuned. Check out these commercials by listening to those who are supporting the podcast, and definitely hop on over to Amazon and pick up your copy of the Book Review Journal, available right now. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. All right, welcome back to the trashing show of our dark duet. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, it wasn't like a horrible book. It wasn't horrible.
It's well written. Like, I know, or I can, from reading this, Victoria Schwab knows how to write. She knows how to tell a story. I just don't think she has somebody asking her the hard questions.
See, again, here we go with the technicality of things. She's a good technical writer.
Yes.
But the plotting, the pacing.
But the plot... The world building, the consistency with the murder and what's right and what's wrong and what creates what and how the monsters act and behave. And
yeah. Back to the pacing a little bit. Like I said, it took 40% before I was interested. So the pacing was inconsistent and just worse, almost worse to me than the book one.
Really? I would have assumed it would be slightly better for you just because there's no high school bullshit this time around. Like, it was still boring and slow and like needed to be tightened, but there was no, let's go to high school. Let's go sit in history class.
I listened to this on audiobook and I had to stop and think about what the hell I listened to for 30 minutes. And I was tempted to go back and I'm like, after that, I'm not going back. So I just had to think about for a minute. It was just too long. The book is over 500 pages and it didn't need to be so. It's too long, which I think contributed to the inconsistent and slow pacing because she's trying to add things, like we said, that weren't really important to the overall story. I feel like you have us invested in Kate and Austin, right? We have been with them on this journey. We want to see how it ends. And to just meet these random people that just disappear at 40% is, I feel, an utter waste of pages to me. What did she come with that? I mean, it's not like okay, maybe she had grown a little bit in that 6 months.
She did. She finally had friends for the first time. I think this was the longest place she's been since one of her boarding schools. So a little bit of character growth for her. But
they could have showed that in a different way.
I think August said at one point, like, the past 6 months hadn't touched her, but they had like changed him completely.
I want to see that. I want to see the downfall of Leo in his head changing him. I'd rather see that.
We got to see glimpses of it, but I wanted to see more.
I feel like we got the end result. And we knew, okay, he's hearing Leo or he is imagining him or thinking of him. But we didn't get to see the progression of that. It's like, this is how I am now.
Yes. We didn't get to see the downfall. We didn't get to see him lose that humanity.
That would have been more important to me than old boy and his couch and pizza and whatever else they had going on in those first 150,
the coffee
200
shop,
pages. Yeah.
The friends.
Who cares?
How they're like hacktivists and they're like looking for monsters in a place where there are no monsters. And they look down on Verity because Verity, who cares about that? It's
place? Like some kids' monster hunting club. Like, are you serious?
Yeah. No, and again, like, it doesn't fit with the world building that she built. Like, why does this place not have monsters? Why are they going monster hunting? They should have violence. Why aren't monsters being created? And again, why is this new monster created here as opposed to Verity or the house on the hill? I'm in second circles. Stop me. But
I get it.
It's superficially. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't question it. Don't think too hard. Don't ask why.
So let me ask this then, because I praised Schwab in the last book for avoiding the whole romance thing between them.
Mm-hmm.
And it had this little romance subplot here a little bit. And I'm like, the fuck? Why? Why? Just be friends. Just be friends. Y'all survived something serious. You're back. You're trying to fight something else. Why do you have to make out and kiss? Like, I don't appreciate it at all. I feel like that was just,
Forced.
it was forced, and it was trying to make, I think the author was just trying to make us root for them in a coupley way so that when the end happened, we'd be all, but she failed. She failed. It didn't do what I think she wanted it to do. So why even do it? Like, it's stupid. Sorry. Not sorry.
I don't have an answer for you, but I have. If Kate had never gone to Prosperity, if there had never been a 6-month gap, if they had gotten together like a week after or 2 weeks after the end of the last book, like literally like right after that, and then started kissing, it would have felt more natural to me, because it would have felt like, okay, we have gone through all of this together, we're still together,
Trauma bonding.
let's take it to the trauma bonding, let's take it to the next level, like we're here, we're together, we're good. This, you're right, it doesn't make sense. They were apart for 6 months, they're kind of back together, they're, kind of dancing around each other. She's calling him out on his shit, like, who are you? This isn't the August I know. What's going on?
And she's talking to him like she's someone who's known him for years. You've known him for
just a few days.
Yeah, right. If we go back to book 1, she only really knew him like shy of a week. Less than a week.
Yes.
And then they were apart for 6 months. Why are you talking to this guy like you know him? You don't.
You don't. You don't know him at all.
No.
So, again, you're right. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. If the timeline had been different, I feel like I could argue for it. But I think you're right that she just wanted to give them like a happy moment. So they're like a cute couple. And you think that, they're still star-crossed. They can't kiss because he'll call her soul out and then she'll be dead. And oh no, what are they going to do? And then at the end, when, surprise, surprise, she does die, you're supposed to feel more emotional about it. But it just, it didn't work. Like, honestly, I was more shocked that she killed her than the fact that she was dead. Yes. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, and I want to give Victoria Schwab props for that. We have bitched about YA books in the past being so stereotypical, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And this series is not that stereotypical. Like, it's not lovey-dovey. There's no insta-love. There's no focus on the romance until that makeout session. And she did do some special things, but also, like, it was really annoying and questionable world building. But it stands out as being different from, like, your stereotypical YA novel.
But that's all the more reason why it didn't fit. Like, really, there was no need for it. Some editor should have yanked that out. Because if we never saw that scene, it wouldn't have made a difference at all.
No.
So, editor, shame on you, because you should have told the author, we're getting rid of this because there's no point.
Pretty much.
So, I guess if I had to say, we talked a little bit about the ending, and we're about to spoil the ending, spoiler alert.
Spoilers,
duh. We spoil all of during this episode. But, basically almost everyone dies.
It surprised me.
Yeah. I do give her a lot of credit for doing that, because you know how I always say, there's no way you've gone through all of this and everyone lives. What is the consequence for this, right?
Yes.
You can't have a happily ever after with all these characters skipping off into the sunset after you've had like an ultimate fight in like basically a war.
Mm-hmm.
And Schwab does a pretty good job of like showing this is the end result of this, you know?
Yep. Yep. Kate dies,
Yes.
which is surprising, but she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
She and Alice kind of killed each other, although
Yes.
Kate survived Alice by like an hour.
It was like some Kill Bill
Sloane
stuff.
Yeah. Sloane is thankfully dead. Ilsa devoured the new monster and then exploded into dust herself.
Yes.
Henry Flynn is dying.
Still.
He's still alive, but he has some kind of like lung cancer or something. So
he won't be around for long.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. He surprisingly survived this battle, but his
Barely.
body's going to give out pretty
Yeah,
soon.
he's really frail at the end of it. So
And then of course the monster like came into the compound and everybody turned on everybody and they all started killing each other. So there's like 1,000 dead people, innocent people who are dead. But yeah, no, she killed off like half of the main cast.
Yeah.
At the very end, you know, thinking about everybody from book 1 and book 2, we're left with August, the new Sunai Sorrow, and Emily, Henry's wife.
Yes.
Henry's still there too, but again, like
he's about to
he's
croak.
gonna
He's
die
gonna
soon.
bite it. Yeah. But I liked that.
Yes.
Because it was realistic for the war that they were having. Now that lived up to the world building that she was trying to create, not this other random stuff in there, but that was true to how dangerous this is and how serious it is that deaths happen when you try to save the world or a city, I guess.
Or a city.
Right.
We're just saving the city because apparently the rest of the world doesn't have monsters.
Right. Which is why in the world does anyone live there? If it's monster free everywhere else, why don't you just leave?
I don't know. You could have just left.
Instead of paying for protection and all this other crap, why don't you just leave?
You had the money. You could go.
Another plot hole.
Again, it doesn't make sense. They kind of explained that everybody had monsters in the first book and everybody kept populations down and blah, 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 blah. But you're still, you know, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're not really safe from monsters. But no, apparently Prosperity doesn't have monsters. So
yeah, I don't know.
It does not make sense. It does not. It's not consistent. It does not compute.
So I feel like ultimately, I don't think Victoria Schwab is for me. I don't think her writing is for me in general. I'm not her target audience because clearly, you know, I was looking at Goodreads and the average rating is 4.16 with about 45,000 ratings, a little over almost 47,000 ratings. And when you get down into breaking it down, when I see how many people rated it, what I would rate it, that's only 3% of the people. So I feel like I didn't read the same book as these other people, or we have extremely different taste in books, which makes me think this isn't for me.
I want to give her a second shot. I want to read one of her later books and see if she has grown at all. If she has somebody asking her the harder questions. Because again, like at a superficial level, I understand what she was trying to do. You know, she asks all the questions on the last page. Like, how do we judge these people who were, you know, consumed by the monster and started killing, but they didn't really mean to kill? Do we just kill all of them or do we let them live? And August is like, no, we let them live. We don't judge them on this. And like, I get what she's trying to say with all of that. But also there are so many questions and so many world building issues and so many plot holes. And I'm just like, I want to like you and I want to read this, but there's just so much that I can't handle with it at the same time.
Well, okay, we read, what was it, Shades of Magic by her,
Oh yeah, I
and
forgot about that.
I thought it was okay, right? So Shades of Magic, book 1, I gave 3 out of 5. I thought it was okay. I had my issues.
Mm-hmm.
This Savage Song, the first book in this duology, I gave 3 stars out of 5. I thought it was okay, but I was holding out for this potential that did not materialize. So I don't feel like I want to give it another chance. I really feel like, and I feel like the problems I had with Shades of Magic is the problem I had with this series. The pacing, so I just, I'm not giving her any more chances. I'm done.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Mm-hmm. And I know she has a huge fan base, but sometimes, and I know this is a controversial opinion, but sometimes people are mega fans and they just rate everything highly. Who knows if they even read the book? They were excited for it and they rated it a 5 on Goodreads. Or because the ratings aren't the same amount as the reviews. Right? People are actually leaving an opinion. That's different from the ratings. So like, for example, we were talking about, it was almost 47,000 ratings. It was 8,700 reviews.
Wow.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe it's skewed because she has a fan base, so the ratings aren't reliable. Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, you can't prove it, right? It's just a theory. You can't prove it. Without people actually leaving reviews. They're just checking a star and moving on.
To be fair, I usually just check a star and move on with Goodreads.
Yeah.
Though. I haven't left a review on Goodreads in a long time.
Okay. Well, being that I feel like I have a slightly, I feel this way because I've been in groups recently on Facebook where it seems like, for example, we had this conversation about Colleen Hoover. Everyone loves this group of people. This small group of people loves everything she writes, and it's blown up because the small, you know what I'm saying? So not even that the shit's actually good, it's that everyone is on this bandwagon and they just love everything, despite if it's actually good or not. And I feel like Sarah J. Maas has the same thing going on. Like, she has this fan base that are so hardcore, they will say they love everything, even if they don't, because they love her. And I feel like there may be a little bit of that here.
And there's also like a little bit of internal bullying. Like if you ever try to critique, like if you are a fan of Sarah J. Maas and you try to critique something of her, I know she has some rabid fans who will turn against you and bully you just because you had one negative thing to say. Like, even if you like the book overall, but didn't like one particular part, people will rip you to shreds because for some reason you have to love everything entirely 100% and support all of it.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not a real fan.
Right.
So there is a lot of that going on too.
Yes. So I don't know. So with that said, again, I'm done. I'm not.
That's fair.
I'm not going to give it round 4. This will be if I go another time, it'll be round 4. I think 3 is enough for me, but you're going to give it a go again later.
I think so.
Okay.
Like The Invisible Life of Adeline, I've heard a lot of people tell me it's really good. And it's on my to be read pile, so I think I'm going to try that.
Okay.
But I'm going to give it a shot and see if it's good. It might suck or I might love it. Like, I don't know.
It might be okay. I mean, this one has over 700,000 ratings. And it's average of 4.22.
It blew up. And people liked it.
They did.
But again, this series blew up and everybody liked it.
Yeah.
And it had a very similar, 4+ star rating on Goodreads. And I'm not giving this one a 4 stars. So we'll see.
Yeah.
If I try it, I'll tell you. If I don't.
Okay, well, speaking of ratings, let's go ahead and rate it. If you have anything more to talk about, we can do that first. Otherwise, I say let's rate it.
I could rant, but I don't feel like it.
Okay.
So Like, this book is real thick, and I'm sure I could find things to rant about it, but I'm over it.
Yeah.
I feel like we've said everything we need to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's rate our Dark Duet, book 2 in the duology.
Book 2.
Casey, you go first.
I gave book 1 3 stars. This one, I think I'm going to be nice and give it 3 stars too.
Okay.
I have so many questions, but again, at a superficial level, if I don't question, if I don't think, it's fine.
Okay. So I am going to deviate. The first book I gave 3 stars because I thought it was okay, right? It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hopeful of what was next. But I feel utterly disappointed, more disappointed. So I think it got more points on the negative than on the positive, although I did have a couple of things I enjoyed. So I'm going to go with the 2. Honestly, 2 out of 5. So yeah. And I couldn't have been more relieved that this was a duology and not a trilogy, because I would have been bawling my eyes out if I had to read one more book in this world. So lucky me.
No. It was wrapped up nice and neat. It is over.
Yeah.
Hopefully there will not be anything else in this world, because we do not need to go down that road.
And if it is, I'll ignore it, because I feel like it's done. It was a good ending. What else can you do? I don't know.
No.
So with that said, I think we should just do a little bit of housekeeping, let you guys know that we are not doing a fantasy series book in December. We're going to take December off.
Woo, vacation time.
And we are going to start a new series in January. So you'll want to join us on Shelf Addiction, in Shelf Addiction Official, or over on the Book Club's app, or follow either one of us online anywhere.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
Yeah, because we'll be releasing that sometime in December. So you can have enough time to get your books and start with us in January. So you can buy, or I don't know how you'll be with getting books that are on hold, but good luck.
Yeah.
A lot of libraries have really long waits, so I don't think you'll have enough time for that unless we pick something obscure. But at least you can buy it and be ready.
Yes.
So I think that's it. What do you think, Casey?
I think that's it.
All right.
I think we're good.
All right. So thanks for joining us for this conversation. If you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, thank you for listening to the entire episode. I appreciate you for doing that. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons before you leave. That way you'll be notified when we post another episode. And that is it for today. And we will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.